What's up, hockey fans of all ages, shapes, and sizes? Just out for a little twilight golf here, a little chip and putt. All hockey players know that everybody golfs in the summertime who's a hockey player. It's almost a prerequisite for being a golfer. So with that said, I have a kind of a funny story for golf. Jumbo, we were probably like 14, 15, and I'd been golfing for a few years, and I remember he brought clubs. I said, hey, you shoot left-handed, and he had a right-handed set. I think it was like his first time or first few times golfing. It's like, oh yeah, I just borrowed the clubs from my uncle or brother, or his dad or something like that, and right-handed, and he's actually pretty good. It blew me away. Anyways, this is a gem. It's a free course. If you know, you know. I'll miss this thing going out west. But what I wanted to talk about today was defensemen and the Brad Treliving thing. He got hired as the GM. Boston Pizza Arena. Let's go. I think that teams like the Sharks, who are building, and the Leafs actually have a good stable of defense D-men back there as well. Teams that are building, I think you have to have a philosophy for having... Jesus, ball just flew by me here. I'm on a tee off. Didn't even say four. Yeah, you have to have a philosophy of... sorry, that threw me off a little bit. Have a philosophy of building a good core of defensemen, building them up through the ranks, the rookies, the sophomores, the ELCs, entry-level contract, if you don't know, and building and drafting good, solid defense. Maybe not your first round, but your third, fourth, fifth rounder type picks that end up turning out really good. The Sharks did amazing with Dylan, Middleton, some of those guys. They got Henry Thrun now, and some other guys. So I'd say my philosophy is for the regular season, you got to really focus on having one superstar defenseman like Carlson for the Sharks, and having a good supporting core for a pretty reasonable price cap-wise around them. And then obviously if you have mature defensemen like Edmonton acquired Ekholm, and I think he'll probably be not a rental, he'll probably be a part of their team going forward. So anyways, I think philosophy wise, you want to have your one superstar and worry about a lot of offense in the regular season. Worry about offense from your forwards just so you make the playoffs. And then as far as trade deadline acquisitions and whatnot, you got to be looking at your big tough defensemen, sort of that middle market where they've matured past their ELCs. They're making anywhere from $2 to $5 million or so, and then obviously you build around your superstar for the playoffs for power plays. But unfortunately, like 5-on-5 happens more often than not. There's not as many penalties. So any guys that are scoring like nothing and all their points are coming from the power play, whether it's defense or forward, you're looking at trouble for the playoffs. So hearing Brad Treliving today, he talked about defense, and I have a lot of confidence in just him as a person, the way he talks. He's a very well-spoken, intellectual person. So I'm hoping, I know I talked about the trade for Austin Matthews. What I would do is I would go down, meet with Austin and his agent. I would say, we need you to sign for 12.7 for 8 years. And I think Tkachuk was a sign and trade. I could have that wrong. But Austin Matthews, I believe from his camp, he probably wants to play one more year, go gangbusters, go for the heart again, go for 60 goals to maximize what he's going to get. But I look at this from the point of after last season, he probably doesn't deserve McKinnon, McDavid numbers, but I think he'll be McMatthews. He'll get $100 million deal. That'll be the headline. highest paid player in the NHL. It'll probably be 8 years times 12.7 to me. And Kipper and Bourne, I love their podcast lately. They were talking about that a bit, where, you know, could Austin and his camp kind of want a little bit more? And I look at, like, beyond 100 million, what's the vanity number beyond that, right? It's like, you know, is he going to want 15 million, which is 120, and then you lose a guy like Nylander they commented on? So I'd say you try to sort this out before the draft. You say, we want you long term. If he's like, yeah, I want to do like a 3 to 5 year, I think that's too much risk on both sides. Like, if he ends up getting hurt, or I know the money's guaranteed, but as far as like his value, if he has a couple more down years, which is unlikely, you know, it hurts his long-term market. And then you've got other guys like Marner and Nylander and Tavares, who are going to have their contracts a few years down the road. You know, they're going to want to bump up, or whatever they're going to do. That's going to cause you to have to rejig and redo this. So to me, the only way you can make this Matthews thing work, in my mind, is 8 years at 12.7. It's like $101 million. He's the highest paid player in the NHL. Even though his last season probably doesn't merit that, you can project future value and the cap going up and stuff. But if he's kind of, you know, wanting a little bit more, I think that's where you got to cut it off and say, hey, you know, like, we love you, but there's other guys on this team. So, yeah, I'd say work the defense. For a team like the Sharks, I'm happy with Karlsson, and then, you know, a bunch of supporting cast around him. I know Vlasic's contract's huge, and that'll probably be a hometown if he wants to retire as a Shark, in my opinion. But he's still got a couple more years left. Guys like that are like going for a cup. Maybe he even says, hey, like, trade me to a team at the deadline to go for a cup, because I think those really proven solid defensemen don't grow on trees. So those are the people you look to move at the deadline for the playoffs, that are going to take a team to the next level, knowing that they are probably a rental at that point. So I just think, like, you've seen it time and time again where Foligno, you know, and some people say with Ryan O'Reilly, he got hurt after he got the hat trick. So what's his true value, right? I think it's really, really hard to, and Edmonton proves my point in this, it's really hard to acquire a forward at the deadline with line chemistry and all those things. But I think defensemen have a very defined role, and it's a little bit easier for them to go in, like Ekholm proved at the trade deadline. He went in for Edmonton and he did really well for that team. So my philosophy is heavy offense for the regular season, and heavy defense. Not too much defense that you don't have offense like Carolina, no offense, but they just had too much defensive power. They couldn't score because their main guys were injured. So that's the philosophy there. Go Leafs, go.